Sharp came here back with another video. And today, I got a question from my cousin a couple of days ago. And he worked with this woman, and she happens to be married. And he asked me, how do you sleep with a married woman? How do you seduce her? How do you get her to go over the edge? This is one of those taboo subjects in society that most people don't talk about it, because everyone assumes that they assume that married people are faithful and that they're doing the right thing, or they're sacred. Marriage is sacred. That bullshit. But hey, I don't recommend anyone sleep with a married woman, by the way. But I'm going to tell you my experience and what happened to me. Because I used to travel all around America. At one point, I used to drive a lot. East Coast, West Coast, you name it. I was everywhere. Up north, down south, Midwest. And along the way, I met a lot of women. And the thing about it, a lot of these women were married, and I didn't even know. And you know why? Because I never asked. I was just trying to have a good time. I was in and out of town. I'm not from these places, so I'm in and out of town. I'm just trying to have a good time until it's time for me to leave. And what I noticed is that if you don't ask, they probably won't tell. Especially if they're not happy, or if they're not in a good marriage, or have a good relationship with their husbands. I think I remember having 2 women told me that they were married out of thousands within a span of 10 years. I can't even tell you a handful of women that told me that they were married at the time. And that's just the reality. And you gotta let's face it, marriage is at 50%. Divorce rate is at 50% in the United States. So what that means is that there's a lot of unhappy people walking past you every day. There's a lot of unhappy women that you see at work every day. However, see, the thing I learned over the years is behavior is controlled by consequences. So the only way the average person won't seek to sleep with another person until they feel like they can get away with it. If they don't think they can get away with it, then they probably won't attempt to do anything. And that's just how it is. However, there's always an exception to the rule. There's no absolutes. Sometimes it just depends on who you are as a man. Depends on how much game you got, how well can you speak and listen. And depends on how what type of guy you are as well, how masculine you are, how you show up, and the perception of how the women see you and their presence. Do you demand respect when you come in the room, or when you're out in public, or when? And it depends on how you meet them. You met them through your wife. You met them at your job. You met them out in the street. Is she the neighbor? Does she work at the gas station? Does she work at the office complex of where you live? It depends on where you meet. It depends on the environment. But what I would say is, if you meet a married woman, and assuming that you approach her, or it doesn't matter, assuming that y'all have a conversation, and if she tells you she's married, that doesn't mean she doesn't want to talk anymore, or that it's a deal breaker. Especially if she's still standing there giving you conversation. If she's still standing there giving you conversation, then keep talking. As a matter of fact, if she doesn't say anything about being married, don't worry about it. And if she says anything negative about being married, or negative about her husband, just listen. Don't say anything negative about her husband. You let her do that. You sit back and listen and ask questions. And what's going to happen is, if you keep asking questions, you'll find out how far she wants to take this. Where is this going to go? Because she might be interested in doing something fun, something new, something fresh. Because if she's not happy in her marriage, that means she's vulnerable, especially if she gets very emotional about it when she's talking to you. She's vulnerable. She can be easily manipulated, because women are very emotional. So sometimes the best time to catch them when they're vulnerable is when they're having issues at home. Now, some people will say, well, that's kind of being manipulative. That's kind of manipulating women. It is. But you know what? Women do the same thing to guys. So we're only human beings. But most of the time, if you catch a woman or a guy, but that's a woman, for this illustration. If you catch a woman when she got issues at home, and if you can cater to her needs and whatever she wants at that time that you're around her, you might be able to take advantage of the situation and get her in her pants. Now, she might feel bad afterwards, after the fact, because after a couple days, she might have doubts because she got all emotional about the situation. But if she did it once, she might end up doing it again. If she's in that situation or that environment, would you? I mean, it just depends. It really depends, really. like I said, women are very emotional, and you just have to. She just has to trust you, feel safe with you, and she kind of has to be a little fascinated by you. You have to be a little mysterious, and I would say you have to be very attractive to her, but that's not necessarily true. But you have to be a little mysterious with her, and she definitely has to trust you and feel like you're not gonna tell on her or get her into trouble or anything like that. So that's what I told my cousin. You know, he was working in the workspace. Um, I told him, I said, he really has to be careful because I mean, if he cares about his job, um, I wouldn't do it personally. But if you don't care about your job, or if you're leaving the job and getting another job, it doesn't really matter, you know. But because if things goes bad at the job with the woman, you still have to see her again. You know what I mean? But you know, that's just my opinion. But I don't recommend guys trying to sleep with a married woman. But I know married people that sleep with other people all the time. It happens. Happens amongst. I know guys that sleep with their wives' girlfriends, and I also know women that make passes at their husbands. That so it's just a reality, really. It's not my what I think about it doesn't really matter. You know, but we're all human. We all make mistakes. We're we're all of it. We're gonna do some shit that we might not deem as morally, correct. But it is what it is, you know. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my blog at chooseyourrelationships.com. That's chooseyourrelationships.com. And Sharp Game is out.